Thanks, Scott. Good afternoon. So as Scott mentioned, this was a joint project between Condé Naste, GfK, and Meredith. So in 2013, PDRF, David Schiffman presented a paper on activating communities. And one of the key outcomes was really that publishers have a unique role and an important role in starting and being part of and extending consumer conversation. And premium content publishers in particular have a unique opportunity to do this. And taking this a step further, marketers are seeking out opportunities with publishing partners to really raise the level of conversation about their brands in the social sphere. So the research that we did with GfK was really to set out to understand what is that relationship between publishers and communities. And so here are a few examples of recent covers and pieces of content that have really driven large amounts of conversation, both offline and online. Obviously, not surprising, Caitlyn Jenner cover on Vanity Fair drew an enormous amount of conversation offline, but it also, online, generated over 11.4 million page views, and 4.8 million came from social channels. And we also did a study with JFK, in addition to this, to really understand our consumers, not just talking about it, but those that were not previously readers of Vanity Fair were both drawn from this article, both online and also to the print publication. So we did see that it really drove a lot of readership there as well. Some other examples here. In July 2015, The New Yorker released a piece on a big earthquake expected to come to the Northwest, in the really big one. This was pushed out via social channels and generated over 7 million page views, half of which came via social. And even Better Home and Gardens featured a tray of homemade Neapolitan ice cream bars, and social media editors pushed this out over Facebook, and within a short few weeks received over 1,000 comments on the recipe. So as you can see, that magazines do ignite conversation offline and also online. And social media has really become a key tool in discovering magazine content. So as traditional marketing channels like the newsstand diminish in effectiveness in driving consumers to magazine content, it's really the social sphere and social platforms that are exposing consumers to new content. Again, Caitlyn Jenner, we saw that with the Vanity Fair article, and it was pushed out prior to the magazine going on the newsstand, drove a lot of conversation there. In February 2015, Wired reacted to the viral phenomenon, if you're not familiar with What Color Is This Dress, which drew a lot of conversation around the color of a dress that was posted on Tumblr. It caused great dispute over whether the dress was blue or black or white and gold. And Wired quickly posted an article around the science of this and drew 15.4 million page views. And most of these were generated within the first few days of posting. And 4.1 million of these actually came from social. Another example from Better Home and Gardens was the owl cake, which generated over 9,000 shares and reached over 1 million consumers. And really, to leverage these social conversations and strong communities that premium publishers often garner, more publishing brands are really engaging their consumers in new ways in these social platforms. More Magazine, example here, has an extremely engaged and opinionated audience. And so quite often, More Magazine social editors are posting empowering messages that get liked and shared amongst this audience. And you can see a couple of examples here. These were comments made by these consumers. I used to care what people thought about me until I tried to pay bills with their opinions, disagree to comments related to Michelle Obama on the cover of More Magazine. So publishers obviously know the huge opportunity in the social space, and social is becoming an increasingly important channel, and publishers are committing lots of resources and efforts to this. And you can see this, the latest MPA 360 report shows that magazine brands overall garner 148 million Twitter followers, and this is actually an increase of 10% just over the prior quarter. So spending a lot of resources in the social area. So really the goal of the joint research project was to identify what is that relationship between published media brands and social media, and I will hand it off to Mickey to talk a little bit about the methodology and what we found out.
All right, thanks, Cara. So we spent a lot of time talking about what can we do between Britta and Chris and Cara. We talked about, how can we explore this space. So what I ended up doing was I called my colleagues, my GfK colleagues in Austria, who there's a whole social media division there. And what we did was we embarked on what we call a network analysis through this social media team. The lovely thing behind this is that the data is already there on the social media site. And so all of this data was extracted by this social media team in Austria. And the data was mined to produce some of the insights that we'll show you in a bit. So really we did this network analysis. What we started off with was isolating 12 lifestyle publications, and they're all listed on the bottom here of the slide. And what the social media team did was they took the Twitter accounts, the handles for these 12 lifestyle magazines, and they found and isolated close to 10 million unique users within this space. Then what they did was they drew a sample of this 9.8 or close to 10 million unique users and did an analysis of them. We found that there were, of these 50,000 randomly selected followees, we found 6.7 million unique friends. And what then ensued was this network analysis. What they created was this network map of clusters or communities of topics, for the most part, that were being discussed and posted about across these users. And you'll notice around the outskirts that we found some geographically based communities. What we decided, I think, in the future is that we would isolate probably the analysis to really look only on US or American-based interactions. But because we didn't do that, we brought in some of these sort of more global clusters, people maybe in other markets that are accessing through social media all of these posts and reposting, sharing, etc. So in the future, I think we would cut that out or cut down the global piece of that, but we did find that in the analysis that we did here. In the end, we really decided to focus on 6 topical communities: food, celebrities, fashion, health, home, and gaming. And these were really the communities or the clusters, the networks that we found in this network analysis. The largest of the communities, comprising more than 400,000 accounts, was the food community, and then followed by celebrities and fashion. Those were the 3 that we found within this lifestyle grouping. What we were a little bit surprised to find, if you can see all the way on the bottom, was that there was a group of folks maybe interested more in the gaming category that ended up in this network analysis too. It was a small group, but we did find them in this analysis. Another output that we got from this analysis was what's called network influence. So what you can do is you can look at the topical communities, fashion, celebrities, etc., and you can evaluate how each community is influential on the other communities. So what we found was that the fashion community has the most influence on all of the others within the network, versus gaming, which was a very, very small community, and probably, even though we didn't have demographic information, but probably maybe demographically different from the other communities, really had the least amount of influence on the other communities that we found through this analysis. Through this work, you can also delve into community by community. So here's an example of one. This is the food community, and you can look at the top accounts that are sort of found within this community, and we can look at those accounts in two different ways here. The first column being the percent of people that are within the community itself, so here the food community, that follow this account. And then secondly, you can look at the follower, this account, and how many of them are actually followed by the whole network. So beyond just the food community. And one interesting thing we found was that Jimmy Fallon's handle seems to be, maybe he likes food, I'm not sure. I mean, I guess everybody likes food, but maybe I wouldn't have considered him to be influential in the food space, but 38% of the food community follow Jimmy Fallon, and 28% of the whole network, so food, fashion, etc., are following Jimmy Fallon. Other accounts make more sense, Bobby Flay, Whole Foods, Food and Wine, etc. But you can see how you can drill down within a community, an individual community as well. Another way to look at the data is to look at the 12 lifestyle brands across the top against the 6 communities that we were looking at. So for example, in food, going back to the food category, what we found was that people who follow Family Circle, 83% of them are also in the food community. This is another way to look at the data. So now I'm going to pass it back, since we don't have that much time, to Cara.
The Jimmy Fallon insight was really interesting because what it really demonstrated for us was that it provided, an analysis like this provided a huge opportunity for us to identify partners that perhaps we had not even thought of before. Perhaps a partner for a magazine like Bon Appetit, or an advertising partner, something we might do with branded content. So it just shows the strength of an analysis like that. And really, through this research overall, it really just showed us that communities represent unique and powerful opportunities for publishers. And it's really important for media brands to be part of the conversation, and as traditionally done in the offline space, really lead the discussions and stimulate new thinking and ideas. And analyses like these could be relatively easy ways to identify and then describe the communities of interest. That can be used from an editorial standpoint or with advertising partnerships. Thank you.